Welcome back to the CryptoWorld channel, everyone. My name is Josh, and I've just spotted a brand new Ethereum fractal that is playing out right now. Definitely stick around. First, giving you a quick update on the daily Ethereum chart, and we are still forming that bullish divergence that I talked about yesterday on the channel. And technically speaking, we now have one confirmation for this bullish divergence because we've seen a daily candle close, which happened after a bounce from a lower low in the price action if you're looking at the daily candle closes, while the Ethereum RSI on the daily timeframes formed higher lows, and the RSI, by the way, goes off daily candle closes when you're on the daily timeframe, of course, which is why I'm looking at the candle closes, not the candle wicks or anything like that, because on the default settings, the RSI does not factor in candle wicks. And like I also mentioned in my last Ethereum update video, the last bullish divergence that we've seen on the daily Ethereum chart was back during the end of February and the beginning of March. And obviously the result of that example was some choppy sideways price action in the shorter term and then a lot more bullish price action. But keep in mind that bullish price action happens at the same time as the stock market's playing out a lot of bullish price action. And so unless we see a lot of bullish price action in the stock market, which we're not seeing at the moment, I wouldn't necessarily be expecting a massive pump in the price of Ethereum like that, and instead mostly choppy sideways price action in the somewhat shorter term, looking over the next few weeks or so. But what I did not talk about in yesterday's Ethereum update video was this massive Ethereum fractal that is potentially playing out right now on the 3-day Ethereum chart. And this fractal basically stems from the 3-day Ethereum RSI, because if you're looking at the RSI itself, we've seen constant lower lows in the RSI on the 3-day time frame once again, ever since around the middle of 2020, and we saw a somewhat similar thing back in the last bear market in 2018. We actually started those lower lows in the 3-day Ethereum RSI all the way back during the bull market back in 2017. And focusing on the previous cycle, first of all, back in 2017 and 2018, looking at the first low that we saw in the 3-day Ethereum RSI before the RSI started forming lower highs. Since that point right there, we saw 4 other times throughout this cycle where the 3-day Ethereum RSI either bounced from this line of support or slightly intercepted this line of support, making it 5 times in total, starting from the time just before the RSI started forming lower highs. And now looking at the current cycle, starting at the low just before the RSI started forming lower highs in the 3-day time frame. So far, we've seen a total of 4 times where the RSI has either bounced off this line of support or intercepted this line of support. And now comparing the touch point in the RSI and the corresponding price action to what we saw in the last cycle, basically at the first touch point in the 3-day Ethereum RSI, that was basically towards the beginning of the overall bull market in both of these examples. Essentially, we still had some of the biggest gains yet to come for the price of Ethereum. And then looking at the next touch point, the second touch point along this descending line of support, basically at that point in both of these cycles, the majority of the bull market gains had already been completed, but we still had one more push to a new all-time high in both of these examples. And then what we saw was a major pullback from all-time highs down to a higher low in the price action, but a much lower low in the 3-day Ethereum RSI. And in fact, this was the first time in the overall cycle where the RSI entered back into oversold territories and slightly breached this line of support. And if you're looking at the current cycle, we saw almost the exact same thing. Once again, a higher low in January where the 3-day Ethereum RSI slightly breached this line of support and slightly entered into oversold territories for the first time in this overall cycle. And then what came next in 2018 was a decent bounce back to the upside, and then another leg to the downside where we saw the 3-day Ethereum RSI have its 4th touch point along this massive descending line of support. And that 4th touch point in the 3-day Ethereum RSI was also in oversold territories, very similar to what we have just seen over the past 1 to 2 weeks with a recent Ethereum crash. And so basically, if you're looking at all of these different touch points, all of these different swings in the market, up and down swings in the market from these 2 cycles, if we simply continue to play out this fractal and basically kind of repeat what we saw in the last cycle, the last bear market back in 2018, then Ethereum could play out one more leg to the downside before then we finally bottom out for the bear market. So let me know what you think about this brand new Ethereum fractal in the comment section down below. I want to hear your opinion, because yes, this could be a bit of a stretch, but we definitely have a lot of similarities between this cycle and the previous cycle cycle in the price of Ethereum and in the RSI on the 3-day time frame. And just giving you a quick update on the Ethereum versus Bitcoin chart on the 3-day time frame, and obviously we saw that confirmation of a 3-day candle close below this ascending line of support just yesterday. And at the time of recording this video, Ethereum, when valued against Bitcoin, is still trading below that line of support. And by the way, that line of previous support is coming into play at around 0.0678 Bitcoin per Ethereum approximately. And basically, if the price of Ethereum in terms of Bitcoin fails to get above that price, and instead if we see some sort of rejection from that price, then that would be a bearish signal for Ethereum versus Bitcoin, which means we could play out a leg to the downside for Ethereum versus Bitcoin if we see a little bit more confirmation here. And as I mentioned yesterday, I would also be keeping an eye on this previous low, which is coming into play at around 0.064 Bitcoin per Ethereum, because obviously until Ethereum breaks below that previous low, technically we're still forming higher lows on this chart. And something else that I'll be keeping a close eye on is the Bitcoin dominance chart here on the 3-day time frame, because this is right now breaking out to the upside, as I also talked about yesterday. And so basically, for as long as the Bitcoin dominance holds above this line right here, which is coming into play at around 44.5% Bitcoin dominance, then the overall altcoin market is simply looking more bearish than bullish compared to Bitcoin, because right now, while the Bitcoin dominance is above this line of previous resistance, which could now be acting as new support, the Bitcoin dominance is simply looking more bullish than bearish. And obviously that is good news for Bitcoin regaining market share, but bad news for altcoins, because the altcoins in this scenario where Bitcoin is gaining market share, the altcoins would be obviously losing market share, which means underperforming against Bitcoin on average. Now, obviously, because of the fact that there's tens of thousands of altcoins out there, there's going to be some exceptions to the rule. So when I say the altcoins might be looking more bearish than bullish, that just means on average, the overall altcoin market compared to what Bitcoin is doing. But it does not matter whether or not prices are going up or down when it comes to making money in crypto. And if you want to know why that's the case, check out one of these two videos popping up right here on your screen, because in both of these videos, I show you how you can keep making money in crypto no matter what direction the price is heading. But anyway, that is everything that I have to say for today. I really hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next video.